Hey people, it's been a long time. It's nice to be back. Today, this video is going to be covering, no picking today, but I'm just going to do a slight overview of multiple element locking mechanisms. Now, a multiple element locking mechanism consists of a primary element, which is usually an inline pin tumbler arrangement, which involves simply a key cut to the correct depths, lifting the pins, per se, that we call this a pin, up to the shear line, allowing rotation of the plug and operation of the lock. Now, for an added layer of security, higher security locks add secondary or sometimes even a third layer of security by adding extra elements to the locking mechanism. Now, the first type of multiple element locking mechanism I'll show you here. This is a Concept Plus. This is a Brazilian lock, and its primary means of operation is simply an inline 5-pin pin tumbler arrangement, but its secondary secondary element is just dimples cut into the side milling of the key. These dimples operate in an identical fashion to the inline pin tumbler. They are raised to the shear line, allowing the plug to turn and subsequent operation of the lock. That's very simple. It's just adding a secondary, basically a secondary inline pin tumbler configuration. Okay, now we'll move on to a slightly higher security, much harder to pick in my opinion. This is housed in an ABUS 8345 lock. It's called the Scorpion CX5. Now, this has a regular inline 6-pin pin tumbler configuration operated by standard cuts in your key. The secondary element to this lock, the security in this lock, the second layer of security is a set of 5 sliders. They have finger stumps that slide into this laser track. When you insert the key, the sliders, the finger stumps on the sliders are picked up by this laser track and raised to the correct height, allowing a slot in the other side to be aligned with the sidebar. The sidebar then drops into the slot, allowing rotation of the plug and subsequent operation of the lock. Again, not too complicated, but very effective layer of security. Okay, next we'll cover very common lock. It's the Medeco. Now, most people are aware of how this lock operates. Many are not. Its primary security function is a regular pin tumbler operation, but the only difference is between this and a regular inline pin tumbler is that not only do the pins have to be raised to the shear line, they must also be rotated. I have here sort of a paper mock-up of what a Medeco pin looks like. Now, the way they are rotated is the key depths are cut on angles. They are either cut straight, to the left, to the right, and I believe fore and aft also. Now, as the key would enter the lock, the pin would rotate or be raised and be rotated to the correct degree, allowing this slot here to align with fingerpin, allowing the fingerpin to enter the slot, lowering the sidebar, and allowing the plug to turn. And that's the Medeco, operation of the Medeco lock, dual layer of security. Next we're going to move on to some higher security locks. This is the Schlage Primus. Now again, its primary layer of security is standard pin tumbler arrangement, 6 pins which must be raised to the shear line, allowing the plug to turn. The secondary layer, or the secondary element, is a series of finger pins which are operated by a secondary bitting in the side of the key. Now, when you insert the key picks up these finger stumps, and they have 5 different positions, I believe. They are quite similar to a ball joint. They move in a socket, and at the back of the ball joint is a slot, and when it's lifted or manipulated by the key into the correct position, again, a slot in the back of the ball aligns with the sidebar, allowing the sidebar itself to drop into the slots. And then you have subsequently operation of the lock. Very, very difficult to pick, and quite effective security. Okay, next we have the ASSA Twin. This also has a set of secondary pins. The primary security layer is, of course, the inline pin tumbler, and secondarily we have a second set of pins which are not lifted radially outward. They are lifted vertically, and again they have slots cut in them, and when they are lifted vertically to the correct height, the sidebar can drop into the gap, allowing rotation of the plug and operation of the lock. Again, that's the ASSA Twin. I believe they're from, yes, Sweden, Swedish lock. Okay, next is the Australian lock, the Bilock. Now, some people will argue that this is not a pin tumbler lock because it does not have any driver pins. It only has chisel-shaped, they're shaped like this, chisel-shaped square pins, and they're driven directly by a spring behind them. There are 2 rows operated by 2 series of depth cuts in the key, both sides. Okay, that gives you 2 layers right there, and a third layer of, it's mostly for key control, it's not really for picking resistance, is a check pin within the bow of the key. Now, the check pin is shaped somewhat like this. So, when you insert the key into the lock, there's a piece on the face of the lock that comes into contact with this piece, and as you push the key in all the way, it rotates this up, lifting the check pin inside the face of the plug. So once you have your chisel-shaped pins, let me just show you. The key would lift the chisel-shaped pin like this, and this is a hole which would align with a finger pin on the sidebar. Once it aligns with the finger pin, the sidebar would be able to drop. Once all 10 pins on both sides are at the correct heights, the sidebar finger pins will drop into the hole. These are mastered by adding extra holes, and also they have false holes, which are only drilled to not very deep. They're not drilled very deep. They're false holes designed to frustrate picking and heighten security. So that's pretty much it for today for our overview on multi-element locking mechanisms. The Scorpion CX5, the Australian Bilock, the Schlage Primus, the Medeco, and the ASSA Twin out of Sweden. I hope that was educational and informative. So, you know, rate it if you enjoyed it. I'll try to correct my habit of saying "ah" so often. I know it's kind of irritating, but it's very difficult to do a video without saying "ah" in between. Okay, so thank you very much, Sparrows Lockpicks, for the support and sponsorship. Peace, as always. Hello to all my friends on keypicking.com. And until next time, don't break the law and have fun.